Welcome to Ceasefire, where civics meets civility and engagement meets empowerment. Ceasefire is hosted by former Boerne ISD trustee and owner of the Boerne Bookshop, Dale Adams, and by former Boerne City Council member and local insurance agent, Ron Cisneros. Ready, aim, ceasefire.
Good morning, Kendall County. This is Ceasefire. My name is Dale Adams.
And I'm Ron Cisneros.
And today we're going to talk about the importance of travel. Now, I know we all like it. It's fun and all that stuff. But why is it actually important? Is it important? Does it matter?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think?
Oh, yeah. I think that everybody can agree that travel is something good to help you recharge, getting away from it all, get a step away from work, step away from obligations. But beyond that, even traveling one county over and just one, you don't have to go international, but I think we're going to focus on international a little bit on the show. But even just stepping outside of what's familiar and what's comfortable can be informative. It can be maturing. I think it can be good for you.
It changes your perspective because suddenly you're looking at things from a different direction.
Right.
And I just recently picked up my daughter from college. She graduated, and I moved all her stuff back home while she goes off to, conquer the world. And I drove through the Panhandle and up to Colorado, and it's just a lot of different places between here and there. And I'll tell you one thing, I drove through some areas and I thought, oh gosh, I couldn't live here. It's too windy, it's flat, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I thank God for the fact that there's so many different people out there that some people love living here. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. And I don't disparage them at all. I think it's wonderful. We need different people. And I think sometimes when we live in one place all the time and we're around the same people, we lose sight of that.
Yeah.
But when you travel and you see other cultures and people doing things different ways from you're used to doing it, it's enriching, but it's also reminds you that we need all different kinds of people.
Right.
Different kinds of culture, too.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I learned about travel is that it can be humbling in a good way. You go somewhere where there's a different language or a different predominant religion or political system or different values. It gives you that perspective that we were talking about. But I think it also teaches us that a lot of what we accept as the truth or universal truth is really just a cultural inheritance. It's what we've learned from our parents and grandparents. And somebody in Greenland or Denmark or Ireland, they have their own idea of what a universal truth is, and it's not necessarily ours. And it's not necessarily wrong either.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's different.
But it's important that we recognize that.
Yeah.
And that a lot of aspects of our culture, our community, our society are things that we've developed here that aren't in other places.
Yeah.
And there's other ways of looking at some issues or some things. You could call the back of your car a boot.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see that because suddenly you realize you get insights into your own society by seeing other societies. I like to read old books from the 1800s and stuff like that, and the way they're written and the assumptions within what they write show me that they have a different perspective. And then when I read something from my own time, I'm like, oh, this is the same kind of thing. We've got built-in assumptions and beliefs that could be transient. And I think it's neat. It offers me a new way to see my own life and culture and community. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think, too, when you get out, well, I'll give you a great example here of what I'm trying to get to, and I can't find the words for it, but I've been to Mexico more times than I can recall. I've been to Spain and I've been to Argentina, 3 countries whose predominant language is Spanish. Mm-hmm. 3 entirely different countries, right? And so going to those 3 countries broke up my ignorant views of what Spanish-speaking countries were. I sort of had this umbrella view of what they would be like. That was wrong. Like I said, I'd been to Mexico many times, and it was in 1989 when I got to go to Spain. And that was cultural shock. And I was already, I was nervous as all get out because my Spanish is terrible already. Like, I can say "Donde está la zapateria," right? And but then I found out in Spain that limited Spanish didn't work so well. And it's like, oh, man, this stinks. I don't know what to order, how to order. Yeah, but it was very different. The culture was very different. It was very eye-opening and in many ways humbling too, because it's like I really do not know anything about my own background and culture, which hails from there.
Well, it's the same in the English world. If you go to Australia or England, you'll go through culture shock there too. Churchill once said, England and America are divided by a common language. And his point was that we think we can communicate, but we don't communicate that well because we have a lot of assumptions behind our language that are different, and they mean different things sometimes. But it's neat.
I think another great aspect of travel is that it humanizes the other side, right? And so you're talking about that division in the English language between Americans and Brits, and so we have this, I think, in our minds, this caricature of what it means to be British. I always think of Pink Floyd.
The
Time. The song Time. There's a point in that song, in Time, where he says something about desperation being the English way, right? And so I always thought, how fitting. Then I got there. And it's like, I need to take those assumptions and just toss them out the window, right? Everything I thought about them, maybe half of it was right, and the other half, not so much. But they're not Brits anymore. They're people like you and me. Different languages, different ideas of government, but they're people. Right? Hopes and dreams just like you and I have, right? And we can humanize people when we travel.
And bouncing off of something we talked about last week is that we go there and they're different, and we can have a good time with them, and we can be civil with them. And we learn that we can be around people that are so different and have such different backgrounds and experiences and cultures, and yet we can get along. We have a great time with them, and that their differences aren't a bad thing, and they can be a good thing. And it's good for us to learn that.
Well, and it can improve international relations when you go into like Eastern cultures and you experience their reverence for family and honor, right? Where we might look at success and maybe not honor so much as prestige, accomplishment, reputation. Right? Your reputation. But there's a slightly different focus. And again, it's not wrong. It's culturally appropriate for them. It's something that, that cultural inheritance. It's different from our own, but it's not wrong. It's just different. And so I think in that way we can learn a lot about civics, not just our own, but about other cultures. But the learning civics in another culture can help us bring ideas back into our own. And then the obvious thing that we get from travel are the history lessons and the geography lessons. Right? Like, I'd seen pictures in the 80s. I had seen a limited number of pictures of Spain. And then I got there, and southern Spain reminds me of Texas, right? And
it's a real place.
It's a real place.
They have trees, they have mountains, they have...
And they have deserts. We went to Iceland, Dale and I did, and I think I remember when we were doing the Ring Road and we were in that southern part of the island and just looking at those mountains that were kind of off in the distance. Everything looked like Texas, like Big Bend part of Texas. Except it was cold and windy. But it looked like...
If you stayed in the car and the windows were rolled up.
It looked like Texas. And I've told people that. It's like, hey, if you ever go to Iceland and you do the Ring Road and you're in the southern part, you hear all this thing about, Iceland is so green and it's so... there are parts of it that are very green. Or you might think, it's all glaciers. And it's like, well, there are some glaciers. And then there's that part along the southern coastline where everything's kind of windswept and it's rocky and sandy, and it's like, that's not what I expected.
In Iceland they don't have a lot of trees. They're trying to grow them back, but they don't have any right now, or not very many. And we talked to a local guy there who'd done some traveling, and he talked to us about going to the Black Forest and seeing the treed mountains and stuff. And he said he didn't like it. He couldn't stand it. It's like, there's all these trees there. You can't see the mountains. And I was kind of stunned. I was like, wait a minute. Seriously? And he was. He enjoyed the panorama of mountains that were bare, because then you could see the actual earth and all the crags and stuff like that. And it was stunning because it was a different way of perceiving landscape beauty, but not better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
And so that was quite neat, actually.
Yeah, I remember that remark, and meeting the young lady. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the town name. I think it's Upervoger. And I don't know if you recall this, but she talked about how in these small communities, they have to go to a larger city to finish high school.
Yeah.
And they were given a book that was like an old-fashioned phone book, and it had all, at that time, 320,000 people in Iceland in it. Yeah. So if you were going to date a boy that you met at school, you weren't dating a cousin.
Right.
And I thought, oh, man, that's fascinating.
Yes, they actually have a whole system to monitor their genetics so that they don't get inbred, which, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but you never really think about that. Why would they do that? But they need to, because it's a small place far away from everybody, and they don't want to get inbred. Yeah.
Speaking of Iceland and history, remember we stood where Reagan and Gorbachev stood at the Hofty House, right? And that was kind of cool. You know, you get to stand somewhere where two great men had stood once before. When Kathy and I went to Paris, we stood at, I'm not going to remember the name of it, Palais something, but it's where Hitler stood, or that famous picture of Hitler looking over the Eiffel Tower. Right? And so I stood there and I thought, oh my gosh, probably the world's most evil man stood here at one time. Like, do I want to stand here? Like, I don't want
creeps.
Get cooties, you know?
Yeah.
So travel broadens your knowledge of geography and history. And again, I want to go back to something I said earlier. You can do that going one county over, too.
Yeah.
Don't have to go to Paris.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. Time for a break.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a break. This is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron. We'll be back in just a moment. Boerne has its own bookshop. In fact, it's called the Boerne Bookshop. Hi, I'm Dale Adams, inviting you to get lost. Get lost in a good book in our relaxed and casual atmosphere. We have a wide and eclectic selection in the Boerne Bookshop, and we pride ourselves on finding what you're looking for. We do author meet and greets, host writing workshops, and can connect you with a good book club. And your young ones will absolutely love our kids section at the Boerne Bookshop. And while we want you to get lost, we're easy to find, as we're in the heart of Boerne at the back of the Richter Tavern building. We are the Boerne Bookshop. Welcome back to Ceasefire with Dale and Ron, and we are talking about travel and its benefits. And one thing it's done for me is given me a lot of perspective on my home country. We lived in Germany for a few years, and we lived in a tiny little village of 300 people. And in Germany, when they built a house, they put the year it was built on the front of the house. And in this village was this barn. It had this date above the barn door, just an old barn, had cows in it and all that kind of stuff. Probably been doing that for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. The year on that barn was 1740 something. I don't remember exactly. And I was like, that barn is older than my country. Mm-hmm. And it'd been housing cows the entire time. And it just sort of hit home that there's so much more going on in the world, and it goes back so much farther than sometimes I think about when I think about how my culture and my community of a nation has developed. And it just goes back. And so that was pretty neat for me to see that.
Yeah. I think travel has this way of challenging us because we can get comfortable. Slightly different topic here, but as a child, I moved around a lot. 5 different elementary schools, 2 different middle schools, almost had 2 different high schools. And even when we were settled in a town for a spell, my dad was always keen on real estate, and so he'd sell one home and buy another one. So we moved around quite a bit. And as a kid, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I hated making new friends. I hated going to new states, new cities. And my wife's life is very similar. So we come together and we're like, that's it. We're going to find a small town. We're going to move there, and we're never going to leave. That's it. That's it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You've moved quite a few times since I've known you.
In Boerne, I've moved. Yeah,
You keep moving around.
Yeah, but within Boerne.
And you went to Kerrville.
Well, for 2 years. Yeah. But yeah, so and I think that's thanks to my dad. I've got that roving spirit,
Yeah.
Yeah. But we didn't want that for our children. We wanted them to be grounded somewhere and to have something, possess something that we never possessed, which is a hometown. Years later, I looked back and I thought, both of my kids, I love them, but they're naive. They're naive because they didn't get moved around. They just stayed in one place.
Yeah.
Now they've moved on now.
Yeah.
But to a certain degree, I still feel like they're a little naive, and they just don't know as much because they didn't get out as much.
Yeah. We moved our kids a little bit more, but once they were into elementary school, we settled down here. But I do look back, and we've traveled with them, but I do sort of wish that I had taken them to more places that would have taught them more. I've been to a lot of third world countries, and it's given me a certain perspective on governance and some cultures, and we didn't do that with them. We didn't take them to places like southern Mexico or some of the different places that we've been, and I sort of wish I had.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they'd had more exposure to places that aren't just prosperous and nice all the time, because I think that imparts an understanding of human lives a little bit more if you see that not every place is as prosperous as we are here.
Right.
So I encourage people to take their kids lots of places, and even places where you might not think it's the greatest place.
Right. I had an experience on a trip out to Big Bend where I got to the top of Mount Emory, and I was just sitting down for a while, catching my breath and just relaxing, enjoying the view. And I thought about how small I am in the universe, and not in a bad way. Like, I wasn't thinking poorly of myself or I wasn't thinking I was insignificant, but I was realizing that in the big picture, I'm like one of billions of people, maybe trillions of people that have ever walked the face of the earth, right? And I'm going to occupy, in the history of man, in the history of the universe, I'm occupying just a blink, right? Yeah. And yet there I am. Yeah. There I am. I existed. So maybe insignificant in the big picture of time and history, but I existed. A few years later, I would find myself in Manhattan, and that same feeling came roaring back to me, that same memory, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like here I am, and I don't know how many people are in New York City now, right? But I'm just surrounded by humanity and these magnificent towers and seemingly insignificant, and yet I exist. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that revelation was very eye-opening for me, and would not have happened had I not been to an extreme part of Texas where there wasn't anybody around at that moment, and an extreme part of the United States where you're just almost crushed by the humanity of people around you. Yeah.
You know, I had a similar experience. I went to Antarctica, and we pulled up on this beach, and it was just a rocky beach, and it wasn't very deep because there's this glacier that came up to it, and you stand on this rocky beach, and it goes up, and you sort of look up a little bit, and you see this glacier coming down, and you're thinking, wow, that's a big glacier. And you look up, and the glacier goes up, and there's sort of mountains up there, and you see the mountains, wow, that's big. And then you look up a little bit farther, and you keep looking up, and there's the ice sheet. And you can barely see it. It's just way up there, and then above that is the sky. And it was probably one of my sort of feeling of God moments, in that this place is just so incredibly huge and dominant, and I am just little old me down at the bottom. And it was quite an experience as far as perspectives and my place in the universe was. But and it didn't give me the sense that I'm here and I mean anything. Right. But I just want to throw that out there, because you were talking about your experience in Emory, and it popped into my head. But also with the people, and I do this even when I don't travel, is you see all these people around, and I try and think that person has a life. They've got things that they're doing. They're coming home from someplace. They're thinking about their kids or their activities or how they're going to discuss some issue with their wife or their husband or something like that. And then you go to foreign countries, and they've got that too. You can go to some little village, in the backwoods of Africa, and there's people walking around and they're dealing with something in their head, or they're going back to work, or they're going to do this and they've got a life and they got plans, they're going to get a new job, or whatever. And sometimes it sort of bowls me over that there's billions of people and all of them are going through that daily life just like me. Mm-hmm. And we are all doing it. And it just, I don't know, sometimes it overwhelms me that there's that much thought and humanity going on at the same time. It's amazing. Yeah. It's very humbling. It's inspiring because I'm like, wow, all these people are having neat thoughts and dreams and all this, and that's really out there. Yeah. It's really neat.
You and I have talked about this in the past, about how we go somewhere and we envision ourselves living in that place.
Yeah.
And I do this, you know, if I drive up to Mason, I think about it. If I go to Reykjavik or Paris or Munich, I think about it, right? Like, where would I live? How would I live? You know, where would I shop if I lived in Buenos Aires? You know, when we went there, I did the same thing, you know, and I had this friend of mine years ago, one of my college friends said, you know, it really doesn't matter where you are. You'd be happy anywhere. And he's right. I would be, because I think that practice of mine of just seeing myself in a different place and finding contentment in there.
Yeah.
God willing, I will always be a Texan, and I will always live somewhere. If it's not in the hill country, I'll be in West Texas, but I hope that I can stay a Texan my entire life. But,
or you'll come back like I did.
or I'll come back. But if I had to, you know, if I wanted to pick up and move to Aguascalientes, Mexico, I could do it. If I wanted to live in Reykjavik, I know I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have to figure out a way to get barbecue and take my dogs and my wife. You too, Kat. You can come along.
So nice of you.
Kat, you're first. And then the dogs. Got to get the order right. Or we'll just edit this part of the show, right, Baron? We'll just snip and... but yeah, and I think that's, you know, one thing I would encourage people to do when you do go out and travel. See yourself in that environment. See yourself as a Virginian, or as a New Yorker, or as a Parisian, and you know, imagine your life there, and you know, what circle of friends you'd have, what things would you be involved in, where would you go, where would you shop, what would you eat, and then come back home and have a new appreciation for everything that you have already.
Yes, and you know, that's a big part of traveling too. Is whenever I come back, there's this invisible something removed from my shoulders because I'm home, I'm safe. It's my community that I understand, and I can relax a little bit, that I didn't realize I wasn't as relaxed as I thought I was at the time. Mm-hmm. Because I love my community and my home. And going abroad, or going even, you know, Mason or Kerrville, you learn to appreciate your community even more. Mm-hmm. And that's another big benefit of travel, is to learning to appreciate your community. And I think that I would encourage everybody just to do it, just so that they can gain a greater appreciation of their home.
You know, we go on a trip and we come back home, and one of the first things, first off, week-long trip, I'm ready to come home. Right? Like a week prior, I was ready to leave leave Boerne, ready to leave home, ready, you know, just chunk it all and go relax somewhere. But after about 7 days, I'm ready to come back. And when I walk in that door, and my house now is, we've occupied it, I think, a little over 3 years. And so day to day, I couldn't tell you what it smells like. But after 3 years of home ownership, and coming through that door in week-long absence, it smells like a new home. It still has that new home smell. Yeah. And I love that smell. I don't mind, after being a week away, coming home to the dogs and having all 4 dogs lick my face. Normally I'm like, get off of me. You know, I don't want your hair on me. I don't want your tongues near my face. But after a week, I appreciate my dogs again. Yeah. I appreciate everything about Boerne. And so that absence.
Okay, I've got a book for you. I know you like railroads, but I didn't have a railroad book.
Oh, sorry. All right. Sorry. Well, you cut this show then.
Sorry. But the one I brought today is called Road Trips in the USA, and it's 50 Adventures on the Open Road. It's just a book with a lot of pictures of all different types of drives around the country, and it's a great little book just to browse through and imagine the next drive. And it reminded me of a trip I took my kids on one summer, and we spent 6 weeks driving around the Southwest. And it was one of the most awesome trips we ever did. We visited, Meteor Crater, Petrified Forest, Grand Canyon, the Redwoods, Crater Lake, went up to Yosemite and then Yellowstone and Grand Tetons. And by the time we were coming back through Colorado, we were pretty burnt out. But it was just an awesome experience with me and my kids. And I encourage everybody to take their kids on a trip off someplace, just a road trip to see the country, to see new stuff,
I concur.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening to us and reminiscing with us about our travels. And if you missed any of it, you can always go to BoerneRadio.com, listen to our podcast or any of the other great podcasts, and we will see you next week.